Good evening and welcome to the Summers County Board of Education special meeting. It is 6:02 p.m. It's Thursday, July the 30th of 2020, and the chair calls this meeting to order. We apologize for being a couple minutes late due to the fact that we had a problem with the internet. I also want to say this is a special meeting, and it is the board's intention to have only one meeting in August because we're having a special meeting. The necessity for this special meeting comes as a result of some things we have to do in dealing with COVID-19, and also with the fact that we've had to move our students and personnel out of the middle school, and we also have some policies and things from the state that have to be done immediately. So again, we only plan one meeting in August, unless there's some other things come up, and then we'll call another special meeting. The roll call, let the minutes reflect that all members are present in the building. At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Bergen if he'll do the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Father in heaven, thank you so much for this another day. Thank you so much for the rain, mercy, many blessings. God, we just pray that you'd be with us tonight in our meeting. Thank you so much for all the teachers, all the different staff in this place, the system. Father, we just thank you for each one. Thanks for each one for your commitment. Pray that you go with us through this agenda. That we be able to make the best decision for the best Summer County schools. Pray these things in Jesus' name.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That brings us to item 3, approval of the agenda / any adjustments. Are there any members who would like to make any adjustments in the agenda? If not, the chair moves that we approve this agenda as presented to us by Superintendent Ward. Is there any discussion? There's a motion on the floor by the chair, seconded by Mr. Angel. No discussion. That we approve the agenda as presented to us by Mr. Wardle. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained. Let the minutes reflect that by a 5-0 vote in the affirmative, this board has approved the agenda for July 30th, 2020, special meeting. That brings us forward to item 4, public comment. There are no public comments present. We now move to item 5 of the agenda, which is presentations. Superintendent Wardle.
We have presentations by the junior, senior high principals.
We have presentations by principals from our high school and the Summers Middle School, and I'm going to turn this mic over to them because we want to make sure that this message goes out clearly.
Good evening. Ms. Harley, thanks for giving us the opportunity to speak here today. We've had a lot going on in a short amount of time. I've been working with Ms. Hudson and Dr. Green almost every day since the beginning of August, and we're putting together plans. We're trying to get the building ready, get it, stuff moved around, sanitized. Mr. Warble has given us to go ahead and get some more custodians in the building to help sanitize and clear out some old space. And we're going to be in the process of moving some items up from the middle school very soon. But anyway, I just wanted to welcome Ms. Hudson and her students to our building, and we're looking forward to accepting this challenge. And we're going to be positive, and it's going to be great. So I'll pass it over to Ms. Hudson.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say that I am so grateful we're in this building tonight and not at the middle school. Because if we were there tonight, you would get to experience firsthand what it's like when we have rain. So I'm grateful that we're here tonight. I'm also grateful that we were given an opportunity to move to the high school so that we can start this year off in a better and healthier environment. Secondly, I'd like to say thank you very much to the high school administrators. They have been so welcoming, and they've been so easy to do what I asked them to do. Not really, no. They work with me, and I really appreciate it. Although when we first went there was a little apprehension that maybe there wasn't going to be enough room for us, but quickly with Dr. Green and his skill with moving through that building with the help of Mr. Hutchins as well, they've made it all work. Today is not the first day that I tell you that we have a plan. I have said that since probably the first time I went there. But today I feel very confident in telling you we do have a plan. We have a working plan. And we have been working together as a team to make this thing all come together. We will know more September 8th, how it's going to be. Any move that you make, you don't know if it's going to work. But as soon as we get our students in there, I can promise you this. It'll be the best we can do. And we'll make any adjustments we need to as we go along. So thank you very much. Thank you for listening to us and giving us the opportunity to provide our staff, my staff, and our students to an environment that we think will be a healthy and safe educational environment. Thank you.
Well, that was short. On behalf of the board, I'm sure all the board members will join in with me. Superintendent Warfel, we appreciate the direction that you're taking things and you're directing. And we specifically want to show our appreciation to our principals who are accepting the challenge. And we're accepting this challenge because it's what's best for our school personnel and our students. And so, having said that, appreciate the presentation. And any other presentations?
You guys have any questions for them?
Any questions from anybody?
I had one prior to getting here, but it was mainly so that's what we do. If that petition off the library to make that happen.
There's some other, the mayor will share, I'll share. Jim.
Before we start the school year, okay, I need this mic. We have planned as administrators there before we start the school year that we will do a virtual tour. We're going to do that for our students that can't come there, so they'll be familiar with where they're going, mine especially, more so mine, because they haven't been in that environment. But then our ninth graders would appreciate it as well. So we'll be doing a virtual tour for our students. And also Dr. Green said today, because he has a lot of input and he thinks outside the box all the time. He has some great ideas. He said today that we could even do this orientation. We could do it virtually. So those are just some things that we're working on. And we just want it all to come together so we can have a great and successful academic year.
We can talk about that.
Yes. We still do have that. Middle school will be, the entrance will be for the gymnasium, yes. The bus, but we'll work with the director of transportation to make sure that we're all together, that my students will be dropped off in that area. Theirs will be dropped off like they normally are. So we have made a lot of plans for our students to be on one side. And they were so giving, I can't tell you enough how giving they were to give them those classrooms on Hall 2, I think's where we are. They call them Hall 1, Hall 2. We got Hall 2, and it's okay. We got a hall, and they gave us as many rooms as we needed to make. But we'll also let you know more about what we're doing as we get closer to opening school. I think you'll be pleased. Thank
To the principals, you're the leaders of those buildings, and you'll have a lot of leadership to fulfill this year, I'm sure. But accepting the challenge, I'm confident that you'll be able to make this work, and I'm sure that our staff is going to accept this challenge as well. So, having said that, we'll move forward. We are now at item 6, approval of bills. Mr. Angel, do you have any comments you want to make? You are the chief steward of our finances. Mr. Angel says he has no problem with it. Well, we're at approval of bills. The chair would entertain a motion. There's a motion by Mrs. Farley, second by Mr. Angel, that the board accept and approve the paying of the bills. Is there any discussion? The motion is to accept the bills and pay the bills. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Chair abstains. Let the minutes reflect by 4 votes, this board approved the paying of the bills. You abstain? Sorry, I couldn't hear you with the noise. Let the minutes reflect, correction, that the approval of the bills was 3 votes to approve, and there's an abstention by the chair and an abstention by Mr. Brown. We'll now move forward to new business, item 7A, purchases over $5,000. No purchases over $5,000, okay. 7B, approve contractual agreements for the 2020-2021 school term. We have 4 bullets. Members, in looking at those contractual agreements, Superintendent Warble, are these agreements ones that we've been having in place in years past?
Correct.
All of them?
Every one of them.
All of them are repeats. Would the members be okay if we handle all 4 of these together, since they're pretty routine? Okay. The chair would move that this board approve the contractual agreements for the 2020-2021 school term. Contractual agreement between Christy Scott, Division of Physical Therapy, and Summers County Board of Education. Secondly, contractual agreement between Heather Scott Greer, Division of Occupational Therapy, and Summers County Board of Education. Third bullet, contractual agreement between Patricia Ward, Provision of Occupational Therapy, Assistant in Summers County Board of Education. And the fourth and final bullet, contractual agreement between Carolyn Price Stevens, Provision of Psychological Assessment and Consultation Services, and Summers County Board of Education. There is a motion on the floor.
Second.
There is a second by Mr. McBride. Sorry, Mr. McBride. Is there any discussion on these agreements? No discussion, then all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining. Let the minutes reflect that by 5-0 vote in affirmative, this board has approved item 7B of the previously read contractual agreements. That brings us to item 7C, which is approved contracted services contract with Greenbrier Valley Physical Therapy, LLC / doing business as Summers Physical Therapy and Summers County Board of Education for the 2020-2021 school term. Please do.
Basically, this is what you've done in the past as well, but if you look on that very first page, I I'd like to go to C because it specifies responsibilities. Basically, there's seven things. The first one is huge because when you have athletic events, you have to provide an athletic trainer to cover all the football practices and games and other sports on a needed basis. So that's the big one. Second one, we will have injuries because that's just how sports are. So you treat injuries in Summers Physical Therapy Office at Summers County High training rooms. 3, keep appropriate injury records. 4, you supervise the student trainers. 5, coordinate care of athletes within healthcare systems. 6, availability to consultation with parents regarding those student injuries. And 7, you have these 2 individuals, Devon Kales, who will report to Bob Haas, VPT, ATC, and team head coach for each sport. So we have to have someone responsible for any of those things that would happen. So that's the agreement we're going into with them.
I would like to say that I have worked with both of those people, and I can assure the board they both do an excellent job. We're lucky to have them, and this is a very much needed service for our athletics. Chair would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion we approve the contract services contract with our Valley Physical Therapy.
Chair would second that. There's a motion on the floor of Mr. Brogan, seconded by the chair, that this board approve the contracted services contract with Greenbrier Valley Physical Therapy LLC, doing business as with Summers County Physical Therapy and Summers County Board of Education for the 2020-2021 school term. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by 5-0 vote in the affirmative, this board has approved the contracted services contract with Greenbrier Valley Physical Therapy. That'll bring us forward to item 7D under new business. 7D is approved interim Scs-Boe Steve Peer. Superintendent Warble, would you introduce that? You might want to have the screen. You want to get this.
Okay, in the past, you worked with Mr. Peer. I worked with him by doing a contract that's a little bit different. Instead of him coming here and staying overnight and working with him, feeding him room and board and travel expenses, that gets pretty high. We have worked well with Zoom, Teams, all those different ways to coordinate. He is going to work up north where he lives in the state of West Virginia and coordinate with myself and the staff to get all the paperwork done. Because now we can just click a mouse with his approval, which then comes to my office, and then I can click on that. And I can work with him via phone or computer. It's going to save a lot of money for his services. It's not that he's not good. He comes across this state as top-notch, very good at what he does. We just need to save some money. So what I'm having him do in the contract is a time and effort sheet. So he can say on this date, I worked this many hours, and just keep an itemized list. That way, as a board, you know what he's doing. And for us, working with Lauren, as she comes back after maternity leave, we can move pretty seamlessly, considering we got a lot that's going on right now. So that's the reason why he's being recommended, is because he comes across from the state of West Virginia as the pinnacle. He's a retired man who really doesn't need to do this, but he enjoys counting beans for a living, I guess. He really likes to do math problems, and I would like to have his services to do those math problems. Any questions?
Superintendent Warble, we appreciate the frugality and the effort you've made here with the time and effort sheets to report what he's done, and also using technology to save board money. I'm sure everybody's pleased with that. And you're right, Amy Willard, who's in charge of state finances, speaks very highly, and he's one of the top people she recommends. You have a contractual agreement with him, and that will run through as needed up through the time when Ms. Crook returns from her leave.
October 31st would be the longest we would need them.
Okay.
But that probably won't happen, but if it does, he's agreed to that time.
Okay. We have the item 7D, approve interim Scs-Boe Steve Peer. We have superintendent's recommendation.
I'll make a motion we approve his recommendation, Steve.
I'll second.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Brogan, seconded by Vice President Farley, that this board accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve interim Scs-Boe Steve Peer. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Let the minutes reflect by 5-0 vote in the affirmative, this board has approved the recommendation of Superintendent Warble for Scs-Boe Steve Peer through October 31st as needed, as per the contract that he'll be presenting to him. That now brings us forward to item 7F, approved textbook adoption for the 2020-2021 school term. I'm sorry. I'm having cataracts removed in August in both eyes, so that's my only excuse, Mr. Ward. Okay. We'll go to item 7E, which is one of the important reasons why we had to have this meeting. I'm sorry. Approve the CEEP plan for Summers County. Mr. Ward.
You all should have a copy that was put in your folder that is a black PowerPoint by Mr. Eric Widows, who worked with this past school year. All schools in the state of West Virginia have to do a 10-year CEFP plan. Ms. Farley, could you hold yours up so that the boys know what we're talking about? She gets an A, B, C. Oh, sorry, Mr. Angel, I didn't realize. Oh, you get an A too. Come on, Mr. McBride, where's yours? Did you find it? Okay. People out there on the web, you never pick on students, I'm just having fun here. So anyway, basically the process for a CFP is to get community involvement. Here is your facilities community involvement that was taken this past school year. It's a thick binder. The meetings that were taking place, you had a total of 4 meetings. One was May 8th of 2019. The second was July 10th of 2019. The third was August 26th of 2019. The fourth was November 4th of 2019. There was a special board meeting on December 9th of 2014 about this plan that was in here. Everything that's in that PowerPoint with that plan, the company that did it was OWPR. They've been taken over by ZMM. The reason I'm letting you know that is because we've been working with them lately with our HVAC. We don't have to make comments about how that's been going. We need to focus on this first. There is a menu of items that have been placed on the CEFP. Those choices have been on the website for quite some time. They're still on the website, and the public knows options. Just because you put options down does not mean you have to do it. So my example is, if you go to a restaurant, there's a menu of options. You can order all the options, but you can't afford them, and your belly can't take it all in. That's what's going on here. You can take all the options, but you can't afford it. I can't afford it. Just one of the options alone that I pulled out, since we're talking about Summers Middle, the facilities that they did a report on, they do this for each building. This company does a report on what needs to be done. By 2024, you need to put $4.6 million in that building just to fix the problems that are going on. So for example, the roof is going to cost at least $800,000 to $1 million. That's in this report done by this firm. When we had the school building commission come, they don't really put a price tag. They just tell you the findings. And we did that at the last board meeting with the findings. The final report came to my office. It's basically the same as the preliminary. Can't say the word. The preliminary. Basically, it's the same as the findings for their final. So basically, I pulled out one from this thick book, but at the end of the day, they have all the information that was brought in there. This book has all the people that came to the meetings, their signed signatures to it, email accounts, and they gave their input, and then there was committees that were formed. Having said that, what you have there, when you approve, if you approve this tonight, then we would give it to the State Board of Education for them to approve in August at the next meeting. Basically, you have a bunch of options, but options don't mean you don't have to do any of them either. You can go another 10 years and not listen to any of the options and say, we're good, everything's fine. We'll have to deal with that when we get more money, or we'll have to just deal with certain things as they fall apart, if you will. But facilities are not an easy thing to upkeep, especially when you look at one of your buildings that is 95, 96 years of age. And I get history and I get emotions, but emotions don't pay the bills. Emotions don't fix problems. Hope doesn't fix problems, and it's not a strategy. But we have to have some kind of a strategy to move forward. I had another person from McKinley Associates come yesterday to visit with Mr. Duncan and myself. They were looking at some drawings that possibly renovate the high school into a middle school, high school facility. That still costs money too, but they said that with a needs assessment that we have, and we're pretty needy right now, that we could possibly get some funding without any local dollars being used by our taxpayers here. So as a taxpayer from here, I would say that's good. But the problem is sometimes when you get into that, I want people to be aware. You can't be choosy if money's coming to you if you didn't put any into it. So people have to be understanding of that kind of a situation there. So we're not talking about closing the building right now. We're just talking about accepting a CDFP that gives all that information out there. And if you all would want to move forward with possibly closing that middle school, we'll have to go through a whole host of meetings, because you can't do that without listening to your people. And then you make a decision after hearing everybody's comments. And that's not an easy thing to do, but there are suggestions in there. Possibly you may close Jumping Branch. That doesn't mean you do it, it's just a may, it's not you have to. Nothing in there is a have to. It's just saying you have a plan, like the middle school, high school has a plan right now. But once we start moving, there's theory and there's reality. They don't always jive up. So this is all information here that's not theory, it's reality. Reality is, this is how much it'll cost to fix buildings. You guys now have a plan. Approve it tonight, then it goes to state board. We can put that on a shelf for another 10 years and let it collect dust, or we can seriously look at it and say, you know what, there's a couple options in there we might want to try to tackle. It's your choice tonight on how you want to move forward. I'll be glad to answer any questions, and we have Mr. Widows here, because I can honestly say this is my only excuse I can tell you tonight. I don't have cataracts, but I wasn't here when this all took place. So, do you all have any questions at this point in time? You don't let Mr. Widows off without a question. Sorry, Mr. Widows.
I just wanted the mic back. Superintendent Wardle, I want to point out to the public and to my fellow board members, this is also one of the prime reasons why we felt it necessary to go ahead and call this special meeting and to eliminate one of the meetings in August, because we're on time frame. Talking to people at the state wants to know that school systems are constantly evaluating their facilities. And they want to know that you're involving the public, which has been done here. And when this goes to the state, they want to see we've had that involvement of the public, and they want to know that we're thinking. And it is all an option. To give you an example, I was on the last 10-year plan, and guess what? The recommendation was to close Jumping Branch then. And I think it was on there 20 years ago. So it's an option. And the board has to approve this tonight or not approve it. But if we approve it, that's the state wants to see that we've done that. If you go to any of these options, the board has to consider any of these options, and the board would have to approve anything that goes on. Correct?
And you have to take public comments too.
And we do.
You can't just move forward without public comments.
So I was pleased to hear what you said and in meeting with those folks on several meetings we've had. There's that carrot out there, and it could mean something really great for us. I would add that if we could be so fortunate as to get money from the SBA, and in talking with that lead man from McKinley yesterday, he was talking about doing some renovation on part of the high school and adding additional stuff such as a gymnasium and a cafeteria. But we're talking about totally segregating the high school from the middle school. That's going to be the plans we'll be looking at. So it would be additional classrooms, it would be some remodeling of some part of the high school, and then that totally with a barrier separates two schools. And I can tell you from traveling around the state, there are numerous rural counties like us who have similar financial situations that are doing this all over the state, because in what I work, in a part-time job, I see that. Nice middle school concepts added to the high school, it's all there at the campus, but they're very neatly separated so we're keeping children apart. So, having said that, and because this is a necessary first step so we can pursue some other steps that we want to do, the chair would recommend that this board approve this 10-year CEF plan. There is a motion on the floor.
I'll say.
Motion is seconded by Mr. Angel. Is there any discussion? Okay. Motion on the floor to accept this 10-year CEF plan, seconded by Mr. Angel. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Let the minutes reflect of a 5-0 vote in the affirmative. This board has approved the 10-year CEE plan put together by many committees and people in our community. And Superintendent Ward will be sending that to the state. And we are early, are we not? We have plenty of time, but we're going to get it in right now. It's very good. Thank you very much. Item 7F, approved textbook adoption for the 2020-2021 school term. Let me ask, are there textbooks on here from McGraw-Hill Education or James and Law?
Actually, I'm not seeing, you guys see any packet? I don't see any packet. So I don't have anything in there at all.
Well, the safe thing there from me on that is to just abstain. Okay, there's nothing, you're positive. Okay, you're not positive, I'm abstaining, okay? So here we go. There is a agenda item recommended by the superintendent to approve textbook adoption for the 2020-2021 school term. Is there a motion? There's a motion on the floor, Mr. McBride, that the board approve the textbook adoption for 2020-2021 school term. Is there a second? Mr. Angel? Oh, Mr. Brogan. And a seconded by Mr. Brogan. Is there any discussion?
We have any, yeah, and the state always had a caravan, and since he has the money, he could probably expand the caravan to the state.
The state makes agreements with different textbook companies to allow them to submit textbooks throughout the state in book caravans, where teachers and school systems get to come in and look at every company's books. Then the local districts with committees in the county then look at them and they make their choices. Is that correct? Any other discussion? Motion on the floor to approve the textbook adoption for this coming school year. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining, the chair abstains. Let the minutes reflect By 4 votes, this board approved the textbook adoption for 2020-21 school term, and the chair abstained. Moving forward to item 7G, approve Summers County Library in-kind contribution for the upcoming school term.
I met with Austin Persinger about the Summers County Library. I want to continue that with him. And one thing we did talk about, just for your information, was since we are looking at room in the high school, we have a lot of books that are in there that students really don't pick up and read. They usually just download it, Kindle or anything with technology. They click on it and get a book. I talked to him about possibly I'll have to get your approval at another meeting to accept those books to go into the public library, and he's interested, but that's just talk right now. But our conversation was about 30 minutes to an hour. It's a great conversation. There's a new bookmobile now, and it's wheelchair accessible, and he's going to work with us on trying to keep socially distant with the bookmobile, because no matter what, we still want kids to be in school like they possibly can and get the bookmobile. We want to give them back a sense of we're back to normal as can be at this point in time. But it's nice to hear he's got a new air-conditioned bookmobile, wheelchair lift, and we can get about 2 or 3 kids on there at a time, keep them socially distant. Mr. Boone has that behind the fence right now. Our in-kind is to take care of that vehicle and make sure it runs well. Mr. Boone and I agree that it's a lot nicer to deal with a newer vehicle right now, and the kids will have a nice vehicle to get in with the chair lift too. So it's going to work out well again, and we've done this in the past, and I want to continue to work with the local library. And the bookmobile is great for the young kids at the elementary level. So it was a good conversation together.
There are books in that library that came from Old Hinton High School. There are books there that Mr. Angel didn't read. And I assure you that they're very old, are they not, Mr. Angel? But let me say, they were there many years before you got there. But there's some very good books there, and they would be a real treasure for our public library. And there's probably some books there that really don't have much value. Appreciate it. So, we have before us approve the Summers County Library in-kind contribution for the 2020-2021 school term. Chair would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the Summers County Library in-kind contribution for the 2020-2021 school term.
Chair would second that. So we have a motion on the floor by Vice President Farley, seconded by the chair, that this board accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve Summers County Library in-kind contribution for the 2020-2021 school term. Is there a discussion by anyone? I'm pretty sure that we've been over this in the past years. It's the same type of in-kind contribution we're getting credit for, in addition to the money that we apply. It's based on the state formula, or the money we send. Okay. Any discussion with members? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Let the minutes reflect that a 5-0 vote confirmed that this board has approved Summers County Library in-kind contribution for the upcoming school term. Let's move forward to item 7H, approval policy with changes, Summers County Schools, technology student, one-to-one computer hardware agreement. Mr. Ward.
In your packet of goodies, you should have the policy that's in there. Basically, it says at the top, I'll have Ms. Farley show you all boys what she has. It's stapled together. It has some strikeouts. Basically, what we're doing is we're striking out words like Chromebook, iPad. We have to make sure if we say in a policy, we want a specific device, and we don't get that specific device, we're now not following policy. So as Mr. Lesser and I looked through this, we're like, things need to be struck out to make sure the policy, because if I'm a parent and I'm signing acceptable use policy, I want to make sure that there's a binding contract that makes sense to me. Well, if I put an iPad down and I think I'm getting an iPad and I get something else, well, then we voided the contract between each other because it's not right. So basically, we struck out words that made it specific to a piece of equipment and left it as technology. So it makes pretty sense. Did you have a question? Okay. Yeah, laptop is in blue, to say, laptop instead of iPad. It's a very generic word, but it should work with our policy at this point in time.
Okay, we have a recommendation by the superintendent. It's item 7H, policy for with changes Summit County Schools, technology, student one-to-one, computer hardware agreement, and that policy goes to State Department. Chair would entertain a motion. Is there a second? There's a motion made by Mr. Angel, second by Mr. McBride, that this board accept superintendent's recommendation to approve policy with changes Summit County Schools, technology, student one-to-one, computer hardware agreement. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by 5-0 vote in affirmative, this board has approved item 7H, approving Summit County Schools technology student one-to-one computer hardware agreement. Let's move forward now to item 8, personnel items. Employment professional, superintendent recommends the following. I've heard superintendent talk about this one. We have Hobart Muncie as a valid credential professional teaching certificate. His endorsement is multi-categorical, MI, LD, BD, K through adult, permanent, Summers Middle School, multi-categorical, 6th through 8th grade, 2020-2021 school term, funded by the county.
Make the motion to accept the recommendation.
Members, do you have a problem if I go through all those and we do them all? You look to the back page, please. Is that okay? Yeah, we'll just go, we'll stop at the coaches and we'll do that separately. Okay. All right. That'll make this go quick. For employment, extracurricular, extra duty, superintendent recommends the following. Karen Eagle, graduation 2020 Summers County High School, effective 2020 school term, 1 to 2 days per week, up to 4 hours. The amount $30 per hour, funding source, graduation 2020. Karen Eagle, gifted teacher, 2020-21 school term, not to exceed 2 days per week, daily rate of pay, funded by the county. Kevin Green, alternative education teacher, Summers Middle School, 2020-21 school term, not to exceed 8 hours per week with 1 additional hour for planning, $23 per hour, CSI grant. Ellen Holt, alternative education teacher, Summers County High School, 2020-2021 school term, not to exceed 12 hours per week as needed, $23 per hour, alternative education grant. Those are 5 recommendations by the superintendent. Were you making did you put forth a motion, Mr. Brogan?
I'll make a motion, we accept the aforementioned things for the moment.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Brogan,
I'll second.
second by Vice President Farley. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining. Let the minutes reflect that by 5-0 vote in the affirmative, the board has approved the superintendent's recommendation for the hiring of the personnel, Hobart Muncie, Karen Eagle for 2 positions, Kevin Green and Ellen Holt, all of which were previously read. Now brings us down to employment of coaches. The superintendent recommends the following, and we have 1, that would be Kelly Brogan, volleyball head coach, not more than $28.50. The term is a 2021 school term, funding source to county. The chair would move that we accept this recommendation for Kelly Brogan by the superintendent. Is there a second?
I'll second.
The motion is seconded by Vice President Farley. Is there discussion? One thing I would say, Mr. Brogan has been very successful in the past as volleyball coach here, so it's great to see that she wants to come back and do this. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by 4 votes, this board approved the hiring of Kelly Brogan as the volleyball head coach for the upcoming school term. And let the minutes also reflect that her husband, Mr. Brogan, abstained. Okay? We'll now move forward to leave request, professional. Superintendent recommends the following. That's Cassandra Smith, 2-3 split at Hinton area. The leave of absence, beginning of 2020, 2021 through May 15th. Is that correct, Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Of 2021. Chair would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation.
Motion on the floor by Vice President Farley. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is seconded by Mr. Angel. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Let the minutes reflect by 5-0 vote in affirmative. This board has approved superintendent recommendation on Cassandra Smith for leave of absence as aforementioned. That brings us forward now to resignation/retirement. The superintendent recommends the following. Any problem doing all 3 members? Everybody looked at them? Okay. We have a recommendation of the superintendent that we accept the resignation of Tiffany Rutherford as a multi-categorical at Talcott, received another position, and that's effective 7/24/20. Megan Mustang, multi-categorical in area elementary, received another position, effective 7/23. William King, PE teacher, Summers Middle School, received another position, 7/21/20. Chair would move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for these resignations. Yeah, I can't, that only, cataracts.
Thank you. I'll second.
I don't know why I would be having trouble now. All right, there's a motion by the chair. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by the chair, seconded by Mr. McBride, that the board accept the resignation, retirements of Tiffany Rutherford, Megan Mustang, and William King. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Let the minutes reflect a 5-0 vote in the affirmative. This board has approved the resignations of the aforementioned individuals recommended by the superintendent. That brings us to item 9, approve in and out of county request. None to approve. That's good. We're not losing any money. We're not gaining. That brings us to item 10, superintendent's report.
Put your watches out, no more than 2 minutes, I promise you. For those out there in the internet world and for you here, we are going to accept the challenge. We have a lot going on. We had a parent already called today because they saw the news. The news has been gracious to us with all the positive press out there. You should have in your packets what we're sending out to all the parents. Basically, the letter on one side, flip it on the back, you have your options. When I applied for the job, I gave you a plan on a page. We're trying to execute that kind of philosophy. We put a plan on a page for the parents. We want to make it simplified. Had a parent call today, they said they don't like the plan. I can't argue with that parent. I don't like it either, but this is what we have to deal with. It's COVID. We didn't have a playbook in the spring. We have a playbook that we're going to try. We will make mistakes. We will have our difficulties. But we won't make mistakes keeping the place clean and keeping kids safely apart from one another as best we possibly can. The mistakes will be like, oh, we didn't think about maybe driving a bus a certain way or pick up drop off. We didn't think about something that possibly could go wrong because, well, kids are unpredictable sometimes. And I know if I'm a kid, I wouldn't want to wear a mask. If I'm teaching, I wouldn't want to wear a mask. But we have to go on the guidelines and what works best. And that's trying to protect our kids. And we're going to make sure everything is clean as possible to help protect our youngsters and our faculty. Those are my two number one is students, number two is my faculty. Everybody else takes a back seat at this point in time. So we are trying our personal best to make sure everything moves as quickly as possible, but not too quickly, and not think about people's safety. That's not an easy task to do. I really don't have anything else to report other than been working a lot behind the scenes. I've been on a tour, and that tour is to try to bring millions of dollars into this county without raising taxes. I don't want to raise anybody's taxes, but I want a nice facility that we can say this is our starship. This is what people see as they come into the county. This is what's for our secondary programs for academics and extracurriculars. I also have a young lady in the audience who's been emailing me her questions. I want to make it publicly. She's not even paying attention to me as a student. It's all right. Kids do that once in a while. But I want her to help me get students to get into my office by next week or the following week, because I need to hear your voice now and to go through some things, because students don't quite understand the whole picture, and it's not easy. Everybody likes sausage or bacon, but they don't like how it's been made, because the animal has to sacrifice for us to have that delicious meal. And before we can have a nice setting in our school facilities, there's some of the stuff that has to be made. It's all legal, it's all ethical, but it's hard for people to understand sometimes how bureaucracy works. And we're going to do our best to make sure our kids get served. But I need to now hear from our students, and I'd like to invite them to meet with me. But I've given someone in charge of the back of the room to make sure she gets that group of students together, because I need to hear their voices. And that's the only group I really haven't heard from. And that's a shame, and I take credit for that. That's my fault. But you won't get my resignation, because I maybe slipped there. But on a serious note, I need to hear what kids have to say, because they do have a voice, and they're the ones being affected the most. If you really look at it, it's their educational needs that have been stopped. We've been kids already. Our time is over. But we need to make sure their time is now, and we give them our best. And I want us to accept the challenge, but also I want our students to accept the challenge I'm going to give them. And that's to be better than what you were before you were on my watch. And also to go home safe. I do not want any kids to get COVID. I don't want any kids to get sick. I don't want their parents or family members either. But I won't make that promise. The only promise I can make you is doing my personal best and expecting a lot out of me first, and also expecting me to make mistakes first before any of you all make mistakes. So with that being said, that's my report. I did go over 2 minutes. I do know that.
Young lady, would you stand up? I'd like for the board to see you. Please don't worry about it. And your name is, I'm sorry. Sorry? Peyton? Okay. On behalf of the board, we want to thank you for coming to our meetings. We also want to thank you for your interest and the fact that you're providing a leadership role among students, and that you're going to get students involved with Superintendent Wardle. Thank you so much for being here. Superintendent Wardle, I would like to make a couple comments. I visited early morning. I was driving by the bus garage, and I'd like for you to tell the board, I'd like you to pass this on to everybody in the bus garage and Mr. Boone. The bus garage was so well organized, so clean. The evidence there of a tremendous amount of work, and I think there's been a lot of people donating their time down there. And so board members, you would be very happy and proud with what's happening there. So please send the appreciation of the board to everybody to Bus Garage, okay?
I will, and I will have to say, when I walk through there, you can walk through there barefoot. You can't say that about most bus garages. You can literally walk in there barefoot and not worry about picking up anything sharp. It was very clean. Ryan and the staff have taken great pride in that. I gotta say my sentiments to them as well. And what I like is he even got his little skew bar out, and he just skew bar stuff, and you know where that item is, and you know what bus it went to. So it's very high tech for an old bus garage. They have brought it up to the 21st century, and I'm very proud to say they're a pretty top-notch group, very top-notch group.
So, and I also want to say, as soon as we get school open, we'll have conversations. We're going to find a way within our system to get that wall fixed for those people. They deserve it. And so we'll take that up as soon as we can do that. Also, I also want to mention something. In our visit to the high school yesterday, I happened to drive around, and I don't know how many of you are aware, we have a weight room and athletic conditioning facility there. And I want to send a commendation from the board to Mr. Wood and everybody else that helped him down there. You really need to see that facility. You talk about somebody taking a piece of a facility that had some challenges. They took it, they owned it, and they've had volunteers, and they have made that an extremely safe, very attractive, something that Summers County can be proud of. And it's that type of accepting the challenge that the board wants to put out there, and that has been done. And I know that our teachers at the middle school and high school are going to accept that challenge, and we're going to continue to see this. That was a good start in those two places. I saw that, and I'm looking forward to what's going to happen in our high school.
On top of that, real quick, I gotta commend, Susie Hutchins here, because she got the daily, it's the Newport Center, right? They are providing free services for their community, payback, if you will, and they are being supervised, and we're getting a lot of good free labor on Fridays and maybe Mondays. Susie's working that out, so that helps our teachers with carrying stuff from the middle school over to the high school for a staging area. And also they've cleaned up a lot of facilities already, so it's been a win-win for everybody on that.
And we did want to say, I think in our conversation, so that all the teachers in the middle school know their personal items in their rooms, we're not bothering that. They can leave that in there whenever they're ready or have the ability to get it out. Is that not important to say to Ms.?
Yes, Mr. Duncan, it is. And I sent out an email after a couple of my teachers purchased storage units because they were so afraid. But then I consulted with Mr. Warble and also Mr. Widows, and they assured me that we'll have the use of that building for at least a year so they could leave their stuff in there. But I shared that with my staff.
Okay, thank you very much.
Do not
Okay.
spend your money.
We will have things moved like textbooks and stuff
That's
for
it.
them. Okay, that's very good.
I wanted to say,
Ms. Farley?
Mr. Warble had referenced this earlier. The packet's going out to parents. As a parent, I got mine today, so don't throw that away thinking that it's just junk mail. And it does have the options for you to pick for your child. And then it has this yellow form to fill out. So these have already started arriving at homes, so be looking for them now. So I just want to point that out.
And Ms. Farley, if they don't like the snail mail, they can go online on Summers County Schools website. It's in red right here in the middle to click on, if they want to fill out the form that way.
Okay. Do we have a shield here, a fake shield? Did I see somebody have that on? Is that the new model, or is that a makeshift?
That's the older new model, yeah. There you go.
Okay. And you can speak in that, Mr. Hudson?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I can hear you and I can see you, and that can be thoroughly sanitized and cleaned on a regular basis. Okay. Sorry to put you on the spot, Mr. Hudson. I just thought we'd let everybody see that, okay? Discussion of next agenda, item 11. Does anyone have any requests? Our next meeting schedule, as of now, is August 27, 6 p.m., that's a Thursday. There is a possibility with some of these developments, we might have to have a special meeting, but we're going to try to avoid if possible. But if it means meeting the deadline with the SBA, we're going to hop on that, okay? Anybody have any other things for the 27th August meeting that you'd like to see on the agenda? Mr. Warble, anything?
Yeah, I think I take that.
Okay. Again, your agendas are very informative. Ms. Farley, you are on.
Make a motion to adjourn. The time is now 7:02.
This meeting stands adjourned.